Right, so it's just gone 5:15, and this is what DJs would call the late show. So I want to greet you this afternoon, students. We've made it right to the end, and we've got such a great final lecture lined up for you. Halala, are we there? Congratulations, everybody. It's been a great course. We'll have a short closing after this lecture. But without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers this afternoon. Two wonderful speakers. So I could say this is Team Willies or Team Woolworths, and who doesn't love Woolworths, right? We all love Woolworths. So we're really, really happy that you've come this afternoon to share your trade craft with us. Two real technical specialists. Let me start first with Shahrain Coovadia. Colleague of mine. I've known her for a while. And Shahrain is she's a cybersecurity specialist at Woolworths, and she's got quite an impressive history. Before she joined Woolworths, she was a cybersecurity manager at Deloitte. So if you live in Joburg, you'll know that stunning Deloitte building on the side of the highway, Waterfall Midrand, just before you turn off at Allendale. And Shahrain worked there across the entire cybersecurity practice at Deloitte before, in fact, she left Joburg and moved to Cape Town to work at Woolworths. Shahrain, it's such a pleasure to see you this afternoon, and thank you for accepting our invitation. And Shahrain is joined by her colleague, Cobus Mentz. So Cobus leads the red team at Woolworths, and he's going to, I'm sure, tell you, he and Shahrain, exactly what red teams and blue teams are. He's got over 10 years of experience in the cybersecurity industry, also working and heading up the SOC, or the Security Operations Center. And he's a specialist in offensive cybersecurity techniques, something a lot of us wonder about a lot of the time. So I think this is going to be really enlightening. And Cobus and Shahrain, without further ado, the floor is yours, and we're looking forward to hearing from you this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Noel. Just going to share my screen. So yeah, hi everyone. Really glad to be here. Thanks for having me. It's really, really exciting. So we're going to be talking about offensive versus defensive cybersecurity. And cool. So Noel's already introduced us, but yeah, I'm Shahrain Coovadia. I have a Bachelor of Commerce in Honours in Information Systems from the University of Cape Town, and I'm currently a cybersecurity specialist at Woolworths. And yeah, I'm going to hand over to Cobus for a quick introduction as well.
Cool. Thanks, Shahrain. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us, especially this late and for staying this long in the course. Cobus means I've got over 10 years experience in cyber/information security. I've done it all. I've done GRC, information security, blue teaming, red teaming. So I've been around the block. I've got a few gray hairs. I tried to shave it short so you don't really see it. But yeah, excited about this lecture. Thank you.
Cool. So let's get into it. So why does cybersecurity matter? Cybersecurity aims to uphold the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data, as we know. It implements measures to prevent, detect, and respond to security incidents. And in today's digital era, the significance of cybersecurity cannot be overstated. With the rapid increase in digital connectivity, cyber threats have become a lot more pervasive and sophisticated, leading to massive financial losses, damage to reputation, as well as regulatory penalties. And also severe knock-on effects on the operations of governments and organizations across the board. Moreover, in our increasingly interconnected world, we have critical infrastructures such as power grids, transportation systems, as well as health services, which are extremely vulnerable to cyber attacks and potentially causing catastrophic real-world consequences if breached. Cool. And now with the advent of emerging technologies such as your artificial intelligence, your machine learning, your Internet of Things, your industrial IoT systems, as well as cloud computing, this has only amplified these risks, making the cyber landscape a lot more complex. Therefore, robust cybersecurity is crucial for maintaining trust in digital technologies, as well as prioritizing privacy and ensuring the smooth functionality of both our physical and digital world. So as you can see, we have quite a few headlines of attacks that have happened within the local market as well. Anything from our infrastructures to our healthcare systems to our transportation systems and even personal data. So what is defensive security or blue teaming? Blue teaming refers to a team or a group of individuals which help to defend an organization's informational assets from cyber threats. This is different to our red teams, which Cobus will get into later, which aim to penetrate the organization's security measures and exploit their vulnerabilities, essentially trying to find the vulnerabilities before actual attackers do. So in this case, our blue teamers are the defenders in this ethical cybersecurity warfare. So the blue teamers really have an inside-out view of the organizations. Their task is to protect the organization's critical assets against any kind of threat. And they need to be aware of the business objectives as well as the organization's security strategy. And if we use the metaphor of defending the castle or the fort, their task is to strengthen the castle walls so that no intruder can compromise the defenses. And so the primary responsibilities of the blue team is to, as I mentioned, strengthen security, maintain proactive defenses, and robustly react to any severe cybersecurity incidents. I'm going to go into some of the activities now. So this is an outline of how our blue teams work. So firstly, we are responsible for incident response and mitigation. So our blue teams play an efficient role and a critical role in swiftly responding to incidents and effectively mitigating the attacks. Our blue teams make use of incident response playbooks, which really outline predefined steps and procedures to follow within any cybersecurity incident. And these playbooks really help to streamline the response process, minimize downtime, as well as recover compromised systems while minimizing the impact on normal business operations. Blue teams are also involved in threat hunting and threat detection. So this is where our teams go out and actually hunt for potential threats within an organization's networks, as well as their systems and applications. And to do this, our teams leverage advanced threat intelligence tools and techniques to detect and mitigate threats before they can actually cause significant damage. Then moving on, we have vulnerability management, which is also a very key component within Blue Team risks and responsibilities, roles and responsibilities. And this is where we conduct regular vulnerability assessments to identify weaknesses in the organization's infrastructure. And this is where we actively search for vulnerabilities and then provide the business units with remediation recommendations. So essentially helping them to understand what the vulnerabilities mean and how they can remediate them. And this is where your patch management also comes into play. Then we have threat intelligence and information sharing. And so blue teams basically actively engage in threat intelligence gathering and information sharing with different external organizations. And this can be the likes of your security vendors, so like your Microsoft and alike, as well as industry groups, so whoever is in the same industry as you, as well as government agencies, which are also very active on threat intelligence forums, etc. And by staying up to date with threat intelligence, blue teams can better anticipate and prepare for cyber attacks. And then Blue teams are also responsible for implementing and enforcing security policies. This can be across the board. So your password security policies, your data encryption policies, your data security policies. And really, it's about compiling those policies, getting them out to the organization, and helping to raise awareness on them as well. Then going on to security awareness and training. So this is also a vital part of blue teaming activities, where we have to raise awareness of cybersecurity within the organization, because after all, our employees are the weakest link in the organization, and it takes a simple phishing attack for the entire organization to get compromised. Cool. Moving on to some of our common tools. I'm just going to touch on these. Basically, we make use of a wide range of tools within Blue Team. Firstly, intrusion detection and prevention systems. These are used to detect and prevent cyber threats. They also help to uncover malicious activities, policy violations, and compromised devices. As I mentioned earlier, the vulnerability scanners, these regularly scan the network and systems of the organization. Security information and event management tools. Now, this is extremely important within blue teaming, and it essentially collects and analyzes log data from across the organization's IT infrastructure, from a number of different log sources, providing real-time analysis of security events and alerts for potential threats. Then we have data loss prevention. So these tools help to prevent sensitive and critical information from being transferred out of the organization. Threat intelligence, we touched on it earlier, is the gathering, processing, and analyzing of data to better understand threats. We then have endpoint security systems, and this is really to defend our endpoints. Our endpoints being our desktops, our laptops, our mobile devices, etc. And using these tools, we can basically quickly detect malware on our endpoints and other security threats as well. And then, yeah, security awareness training platforms. This is where we can send out phishing simulation campaigns, as well as send out training to the organization, which is essential in building sort of a cybersecurity aware culture in the organization, and really helping the employees feel like they play a part in this whole cybersecurity warfare game. Okay, so the role of the blue team in a cyber breach scenario is multifaceted, and it encompasses aspects of incident detection, analysis, containment, eradication, recovery, and subsequently system strengthening. I'm now going to go into a quick video. Just bear with me. I'm going to also just speed it up a little because it can be a bit slow.
You're working as a SOC analyst, and one day you receive a message saying that an employee's computer has been infected with a virus. So what do you do? This actually happened to me recently at work. So in this video, I'm going to run through what we actually do when an incident like this happens. So first, we need to understand the general security architecture for a company. This can vary between organizations, but it should give you a general idea. Let's say you're a new employee and you've been given a new laptop for work. This laptop will be under surveillance with various monitoring systems. So in our case, we use Zscaler for web traffic monitoring, Palo Alto for firewall, CrowdStrike for device monitoring, Splunk for Windows event logs to check user activity. We use Splunk as our primary SIEM, and the great thing is we can funnel all the logs from different sources into a central location. Okay, so now that we have a general understanding of the architecture, we can move on to the investigation. Keep in mind that this is not a strict procedure and this is just a general process. Generally, our incident response time is about 2 business hours, so the clock starts when we're made aware of the incident. So usually I would team up with another team member and we split the roles where they would reach out to the employee and get as much information as they can. My job would just start digging through the logs in parallel to see what I can find. But the first step is to isolate the laptop from our network. What I do is go on CrowdStrike console and get the host information there. So I'll put in the user's laptop and host name here. So in this console, I can view information like the online and offline times for the device. I can also network contain this device, which basically cuts off all the traffic on this laptop and isolating it from our network. Scrolling down the panel, we can also see the history of what times the device was logged on and which user accessed the laptop. So in this particular incident, I could only see the owner of the device logging on, so it's safe to rule out that their laptop wasn't hijacked or anything. The next thing is to check for any system detections on this device. So whenever a malicious file like a virus was downloaded onto a laptop, the CrowdStrike sensor would detect it. So I need to go into endpoint security, endpoint detections, and put in the same host name and see if we get any hits. In this case, there wasn't any detection, so this indicates that the device was not infected with virus. Once the device has been
Sorry. Just gonna go back, but
you're working at whatever the user's name is. I'm mainly looking for browsing history. CrowdStrike of the device logging on.
sorry,
so
I'm
it's safe
actually okay. I'm just gonna go past this one. But basically, we're supposed to sort of outline the general security architecture of a company and the steps that a SOC analyst takes to investigate and remediate a threat. And basically, he already covered this, but he uses Zscaler for web traffic monitoring, Palo Alto for his firewall, and CrowdStrike for device monitoring, and Splunk as his SIEM solution or his event log. So the steps that he will take, and I think we just didn't get to that, was basically isolating the laptop from the network. He then takes a sandbox environment to see if there are any other websites involved in this incident. He checks his firewall logs to check if there were any suspicious outbound traffic, so any suspicious compromises that go outside to other countries, and then checking the Windows event logs to see if the user's account was compromised. So what he finds at the end is essentially that there was no virus, there was no data exfiltration, and the user was essentially seeing spam or scam pop-up messages as a result of clicking on an allow notification option. I'll see if I get enough time at the end, and maybe I'll go back to the video again. But yeah, sorry, it just cut off there. But essentially, when a cyber breach occurs, the blue team has a really significant role in the response, recovery, and prevention measures. And I'm going to go through the analysis of the specific actions within the incident response phases. So let's take a classic phishing incident as our use case, similarly to what we saw in the video, where a user clicks on a phishing mail and provides his credentials. The account then gets compromised and mails get sent out to other internal users from the attacker who's posing as the affected user. So we'll start off with detection. So the blue team's responsibility really starts with detecting this alert, the breach. And how do we do this is through an alert. This could be through our SOC tool or various log sources. And also, as we know, the blue team constantly monitors and analyzes systems and network behavior to identify any unusual activity or patterns that could signify a possible security incident. So that's detection. So once we've detected it, we need to respond. And the response really begins with the acknowledging and analyzing of the incident. So we need to identify the source of the breach, as well as the affected systems and the type of threat or attack method that's used. So we use, as I mentioned earlier, our security incident and event management systems, so our SIEM solutions, which really gather and interpret relevant logs and clues. Furthermore, we also have to collaborate closely with different teams within the organization, depending on who is affected, to get the incident remediated as soon as possible. And it sometimes takes collaborating with external consultants as well. We then move on to the containment of the incident. So as part of the response process, blue teams work on containing the breach to prevent further damage. And what can you do? You could isolate the affected system. You could revoke certain user access. You could reset their passwords. You could modify firewall rules or implement any other necessary measures to limit the threat from spreading throughout the network. We then move on to recovery. This is where we clean and restore the affected systems. You can, at this stage, apply critical patches, ensuring that the threat is entirely removed from the network. You may also want to recover any lost data, and you can do this through backups, backup restorations, and stuff like that. We then have the prevention. So we need to make sure that this entire incident was a learning experience where we can uncover weak points in our defense strategy and then adjust our defense strategy accordingly. We also then can see that we need to increase our user awareness efforts because clearly someone clicked on a phishing link and wasn't aware that it was actually malicious. And you also want to really do a post-incident analysis of the breach and update your threat models as well as your defense strategies. And by doing so, this will really prevent similar breaches from happening in the future. Cool. Then moving on to the next slide. So what are the benefits of blue teams? So one of the benefits is that they basically adopt a proactive defense. So rather than waiting for a breach to occur, our blue teams focus on creating robust defenses, regularly monitoring the network as well as our systems and anticipating potential threats. Furthermore, we also tailor our strategies. So our blue teams are allowed to develop security strategies which are tailored to the organization's specific needs, the business objectives, as well as the threat landscape. Improved incident response. So with a well-trained and equipped blue team, businesses can significantly improve their incident response time. And it could really mean the difference between a major disaster or a minor security incident. And this leads me to my next point of minimizing financial impacts. So if you have a blue team in place and they're able to quickly remediate the situation, and prevent potential breaches, then businesses can greatly reduce the financial impact associated with those cyber threats. And this can include like fines from the regulator, recovery costs, potential lawsuits, as well as reputational damage. Furthermore, there's also regulatory issues that could be addressed by having a blue team because blue teams can really help businesses adhere to various compliance requirements. At every step of the way, blue teams do think about the governance and compliance requirements and what we should adopt to ensure that we are okay with all our compliance guidelines. And then promoting a security first culture. So as I mentioned with security awareness, our blue teams help to promote that culture of cybersecurity awareness and really build it into the organization's strategy. Okay, then what are our constraints and challenges? I mean, we have to start out with the budgetary constraints, as always. So yes, it's budgetary constraints. It's also insufficient personnel. We don't have a lot of skilled people in the industry to help out and become blue team experts. We also find that we struggle with finding the right tools and technologies within the space. And if we do have them, they're often very expensive. So that's under resource constraints. Imperfect information. So cybersecurity really thrives off accurate and up-to-date information. And often within our blue teams, we struggle with the likes of false negatives, which is where we basically don't get alerted on any malicious threats within the organizations. It's also false positives, where we get a lot of alerts on actually benign incidents. And we also get incomplete log data sometimes, leading to imperfect information sources. So this is definitely an issue on our side. Then evolving cyber threats. So a rapidly evolving cyber threat landscape really presents a major challenge to us. I mean, our cyber threat actors are constantly developing new attack vectors, and this increasingly overcomplicates threats, making it difficult for our blue teams to stay ahead and actually respond accordingly. Then we have a complex IT environment. So with the adoption of cloud-based services and remote working, bring your own device policies and IoT devices, managing a security organization's IT environment has become increasingly complex. And really, to solve this, we find that we need centralized security management systems to ensure that they have clear visibility on all devices and all assets within the organization. We then have a lot of technical limitations. So not all systems and applications can be secured because they're either outdated. So either the hardware or software is outdated, or they're just slow and not up to the right requirements. And so that can be a big issue. And then risk of system overcomplication. This is where blue teams tend to overload the system with a number of different agents or measures or controls, which can drastically reduce the performance of the assets in general. Okay, then I'm taking this study from the Orange Cyber Defense Threat Navigator report for 2024. And what it's showing us is the highest number of incident by incident type. So according to this report, they mentioned that hacking was the highest, and they basically said that hacking is, they defined it as the attempts to intentionally access or harm information assets without authorization by circumventing or overloading logical security mechanisms. And a type of hacking would be web attacks, and this is where an attacker will try and abuse a weakness or vulnerability on a website or an application. And types of web attacks are basically your cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery attacks, as well as your SQL injection attacks. And then the next incident type, which they mentioned, is misuse. And that's basically the use of entrusted organizational resources or privileges for a purpose other than what it was intended. So essentially using your laptop that was provided to you by an organization for everything other than work. And this could be for movies, for Bitcoin, you name it. But it seems as though they're finding a lot of suspicious PowerShell commands and CMD commands as well, leading to malicious tools being installed on devices. They're also finding a lot of hacking tools on normal desktops. And yeah, it's also a lot of USBs being plugged into laptops, which is really bad. And then the last one is malware. And malware, as we know, is any malicious script, software, or code which runs on a device which can really alter its state without the owner's consent. And these three incidents together make up more than half of the incident types overall, which is quite scary. Okay, then these are the common industry trends. And as we can see, manufacturing is quite a lot, almost a third or more than a third. And then it's followed by retail, which I work in. But I just wanted to touch on a massive manufacturing incident that occurred last year. And it was related to an organization called Clorox. And Clorox was uh, a major American goods manufacturer. And basically what the threat attacker did was took many of the automated systems of Clorox offline, including those which large retailers such as Walmart and Target use to order products, highlighting how much this breach or a breach like this can disrupt an entire supply chain. So this just shows how bad things can get if one organization is impacted. Cool. And then these are the biggest threat actors. So we have Lockbit and Clop ransomware. And these two typically fight for first place. They're both Russian threat actors. They're both ransomware as a service operators. And I'm going to talk about Lockbit a bit more in the next slide. But the Clop threat actor is basically known for its ability to develop zero-day exploits for popular enterprise software and especially managed file transfer software. So last year, there was a massive attack. It was called the MoveIt attack, which was a managed file transfer software. And through this attack, it affected up to 500 organizations across the world, which is quite massive. And then we have Lockbit. And Lockbit is actually right now recognized as the world's most prolific and harmful ransomware, causing billions of euros worth of damage. And this is literally just weeks after it was taken down by European law enforcement. They were able to actually hack our our government pension agency. And basically their modus operandi is to firstly encrypt an organization's asset and then extort them for money. So yeah, they've really targeted South African organizations across the board, from our connected systems to our healthcare systems, etc. Cool. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the techniques and sort of the skills that you'd need to join a blue team. So you do need some level of technical proficiency to join a blue team. This is sort of having knowledge of various operating systems, network protocols, applications, and some of their vulnerabilities. You need to know basic scripting knowledge, so whether it's Python, Bash, or PowerShell. And you should be able to use various cybersecurity tools. As you saw, we use these tools for monitoring, vulnerability assessments, intrusion detection and prevention, etc. So you should be able to easily work with these types of tools. You should also have an analytic ability. So you should have strong analytical skills for interpreting complex data, as well as being able to spot patterns or anomalies within network traffic, as well as system logs and security events. And then risk management, you should also have an understanding of risk management and help blue teams identify potential risks and vulnerabilities in their systems. Then moving on to more of the soft skills, it's important to have communication and collaboration skills. So being able to work with different teams quickly and efficiently to, as I've said before, like remediate threats and incidents quite quickly. And then continuous learning. So given the ever-evolving state of cybersecurity, you need to keep up to date with the latest trends, threats, and best practices. And then getting into a blue team is relatively easier than a lot of the other roles, I would say. You are able to get an entry-level role at an organization in a blue team, which could really help you learn the fundamentals of cybersecurity going forward. A lot of organizations also have internship positions. So maybe that's something you could have a look at and really get that in-person experience and see if that's something you'd like to go into further. There are also a lot of boot camps that are offered for blue teamers, and it's really a great way to work or see how you'd have to work as a SOC analyst. And they're designed to give you the knowledge and skills and tools to prepare for an entry-level cyber position. Furthermore, you could do practical studies, and Cobus will go into this a bit later on, but there's quite a few tools that you can use, such as anti-siphon training, try hack me, etc. Yeah, Cobus will go into it a bit later on, but basically hands-on training to give you that experience. And then there's a lot of certifications that you could also do. So SANS has 2 or 3 cyber analyst training certifications, as well as ISC squared. So yeah, thank you very much. Handing over to you, Cobus. I'm going to stop sharing. And I think if we do have time at the end, we can definitely get into that video.
Thanks, Shahrain and Cobus. You've got about 20 minutes left.
Great.
Thank you.
We'll go over it. Cool. Just want to confirm you guys can see my screen.
Yes. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thanks so much. So first of all, thanks for staying so late. I know it's a bit late and it's been a long course, but thank you for staying. So I'm quickly going to run through offensive security. So one thing just off the bat, this is not what you see in the movies. It's not things popping up on screens and firewall alerts like you see in NCIS and stuff like that. It's sometimes not as glamorous, but it's still exciting. If you ever want to look at a program, I think it's called Mr. Robot. That's the most realistic one that's out there. Yeah, so let's get into it. So what is offensive security? So it's the practice of actively attacking and exploiting computer systems. So for example, we will target an organization and try and exploit the vulnerabilities that were found, where Shahrain and the team will try and defend or prevent those attacks. The idea of these red teams or offensive security is to find these vulnerabilities before the lockbits, the clops, all these malicious groups do. So our team will go, we've got our knowledge, we've got our idea of what's going on, and we'll try and find these vulnerabilities, fix them before the actual malicious attackers do. So this is a proactive approach to cybersecurity. That does not mean that because of defensive security is a reactive approach, it's bad. Arguably, blue teaming is more important than red teaming, but this is just a more proactive approach to go and find issues before they happen. So in summary, offensive security, or analogy for it is, think of a car manufacturer. Think you're buying your new Porsche. You would hope your 2024 Porsche is fast and secure so it doesn't get stolen quickly. So think of it as these manufacturers getting ethical car thieves to try and break in before they release this car to the public, because you don't want to drive off, park your car, and then come back to no car. So back to what Shahrain said, why offensive security matters is the cost of a breach. For example, the average cost is $4.4 million. This happens overseas, it happens locally. Discom clicks, a bunch of organizations here get breached, unfortunately, as well. Why it's also important is this gives us an idea of what the attackers do. Because often in an organization, people will think they need to fix XYZ, where attackers look for default passwords. It might not be a flashy vulnerability, but it's the thing that the lockbits or the clock ransomware groups go after because it's the easy way in. So it gives you that perspective of them. As I mentioned, it's to expose the vulnerabilities before they get exploited. Then it's to continuously improve your systems. So the idea is here that we will work with the blue team to improve the systems and fostering that proactive mindset. So what will often happen is organizations will implement a system, they will get hacked, and then they will do something. Where with red teaming or offensive security, we try to be, as I said, proactive, so that as soon as people start implementing systems, they think about security. But the ultimate goal is to keep the customer and the data safe. Okay, let's get into it further. So exploring cybersecurity, offensive security, we use a variety of techniques to simulate real-world attacks to assess the organization's posture. Some of these methods are penetration testing, which you probably have heard of before, red teaming, which I also mentioned, social engineering, which we all have encountered, think phishing emails, bug bounty programs, exploit development, and malware development. Vulnerability scanning is a bit of a purple area. As you'll see, the slides are blue and purple reddish. It can be either offensive or defensive security. Starting with pen testing, this is a controlled assessment. So generally, organizations will have a website or a mobile app that they want to be tested. The idea is to have a controlled assessment, find as many vulnerabilities as you can, with a clearly defined scope. Duration generally is anywhere from 5 to 10 days. Then you get different models of these pen tests. So you get black box, white box, and gray box. Black box being that you give the assessors no information. You say, here's the website, go and break in, as if you are the attacker, which sounds perfectly reasonable. White box, on the other hand, is giving them full access. You can give them login credentials, you can give them source code, you can tell them where the backend servers are, you can tell them what technology used, as much information as possible. And then a gray box is a bit in between. So there's always debate which one is best. Many times organizations want a black box because that's what the attackers see, which is true. They see the black box. But when you do a pen test, they cost anywhere from 20 to 25,000 Rand a day. So generally companies have got constrained budgets. So that's why the 5 days, you want as much value for your money as possible. So attackers have got 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, depending on how valuable the target is. So they will eventually find all the information. Where if you give your penetration testers a white box assessment where they've got source code and all the information, they can find as many vulnerabilities as possible in that allowed time frame. I briefly mentioned the types. So we've got application pen testing, I think websites, mobile apps. Those are probably the most common ones now, because everybody's got a website and even more people has got an app now. Then we've got network infrastructure, routers, firewalls, servers, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is quite a big one as well. The network protocols that are used, mobile devices. You will see many stores have got these mobile devices, those kiosks. They often have access back into the corporate networks. So to pen test those and make sure that they are secure. Cloud systems, your S3 buckets, your Azure blobs, your EC2 servers, all of those. And then specialized services like IoT devices, SCADA devices, or SCADA systems and PLC devices. So just before we get into red teaming, the difference here is that pen testing has got a defined scope for a set period of time where you want to find as many vulnerabilities as possible. Whereas red teaming it's normally a simulation. So we will try and emulate Lockbit or Clop or any of these threat actors during multiple stages. It's generally a much wider scope and with goals. So where pen test is to try and find as many vulnerabilities as possible. These are general goals. Can you get into the organization? Can you get into the financial system? Can you get customer data? Can you get employee data? Like I said, they're less restrictive. For example, you focus on the goal, not on the specific application. Longer duration, fortunately, which makes them slightly more expensive as well. And then because there are so many stages in this, there are two main frameworks that we normally use to try and assist these assessments. The one being the cyber kill chain from Lockheed Martin. And the other one is MITRE ATT&CK, which stands for Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge. So looking at the cyber kill chain from Lockheed Martin, so this is great for, we do a red team assessment because we can give this framework these 7 stages and walk through each of them. You will see there's reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command control, and actions and objectives. So what's nice about this is if we work with this framework, Shahrain and the blue team can sit and say, okay, cool. They've probably done their recon now, their reconnaissance. They're moving on to the next stage, weaponization, delivery, and exploitation. So there's a nice structure of how they can assess this. What's also key here is if they call it the kill chain, because if you can break any of these links or any of these stages, let's take the example of a phishing email. So I've done my recon, I've looked at LinkedIn, done some Google searches, looked at previous dumps. I've got a list of the company's email addresses, or I can see how they make up their email addresses, because often it would be first name dot last name at the company. I can make up that list of email addresses. Then I start deciding, is it going to be a phishing email? Is it going to be a malware? So in the weaponization phase, then the delivery is where I actually send this email. But in this case, for example, if Shahrain and the team have got proper email security in place and they stop this delivery, they stop the attack. That's why this is a good framework to use, because then we can see at which stage of the attack we've got our defenses up to scratch and where we need to improve our defenses. And then just looking at some of the tools briefly, all of these tools are free. That's the nice thing about ray teaming. Well, one tool is not free, but the one is called Shodan.io. So think of it as the Google, but for internet connected devices. So it's free. You can go on there. In this example, I just searched apple.com, and it gives you 2,200 results of IP addresses, servers, domains that are exposed to the internet. You can then also easily search there for by country, by product type, by port. You can go and look for web cameras that are exposed to the internet. So it's very powerful and very, very important in the reconnaissance phase when you do attack. Another free tool is Metasploit. So Metasploit, as you can see in the screenshot, they updated content continuously. There's 2,300 exploits available, 1,300 payloads, encoders to try and bypass endpoint security. The reason I'm also showing this is to show that many of these tools are command line based or terminal based. Very few of the red team tools are graphical interfaces. They're mostly these text-based command line versions. This one is called SET. It's a social engineering toolkit. You can use this to easily send out phishing emails. You can make your malicious attachments. And yeah, there's a few other things. We normally just use it for sending out the phishing emails, where Shahrain and the team uses a phishing training platform, which has got simulated phishing emails with training videos at the end. We use this with our custom payloads to bypass the security controls. Then the only one that's not free in this list, and it's one with a graphical interface, is called Cobalt Strike. It's a very powerful tool. Once this is installed in your system, and if it's not detected, the attackers essentially have got full control over your system. They can remote in, they can run commands, they can pull data, they can encrypt your data. Yeah. Then the next one is MITRE ATT&CK, as I mentioned. So this is essentially the cyber kill chain, but somebody has gone through all the effort to research all of those groups, the lockpits, the clops, the APT29s, and look at what the tactics and techniques are that they use to exploit companies. So this is essentially a library of those attacks. So there you'll see that we've got I think it's 14 tactics, where the cybercrime got the 7 stages. Here we've got 14 tactics. And then in each of those, we've got 30 different techniques. If you look at this one, reconnaissance, you've got 10 techniques for that tactic. Vulnerability scanning, for example, then you can see that APT29 has used vulnerability scanning during the attack. If you compare these two now, like I said, one's not better than the other one. They've got different use cases. They essentially cover the same things. It's just that Might goes into a bit more detail, where the cyber kill chain is slightly more high level. So, and I want to stress this because people often forget it, and especially red teamers, they often think the goal of red team is to break into the company. And yes, it is, it kind of is, but the end objective has to be that you help improve the blue team. Because if you can hack into a company and you walk out, give them the report saying, look, we got in, this is how we got in. That's great, there's some value there, but it's much more valuable still achieving your goal, but then sitting with the blue team and showing them, look, if you had this log, you would have detected us in the exploitation phase. You don't have these assets covered by your CrowdStrike. So the goal is always to improve the blue team. Next, as I mentioned, we've got social engineering. We've all been touched by this, if I had to guess. So this mostly is a psychological manipulation of people. I say mostly because there are some gray lines there, but they tend to play on our emotions to get us to divulge information. So phishing, vishing, and smishing. I'm guessing washing is going to be the next one. WhatsApp phishing. I just made that up, sorry. It's a lame joke. We all know what phishing is. Vishing is the same, but on a voice call. Phishing is surprisingly effective. A couple of years ago, we did work at one of the banks. They contracted us to do a phishing assessment of their employees. We went on LinkedIn. We found their IT staff. We looked at the technologies that the IT staff have got proficiency in. We found the antivirus that the company uses. We've got the phone numbers of employees working at the company. We phoned them up. We said, look, your antivirus gave us an alert on our side. We need to investigate this. We need to help you out before you get locked out of your system. And we had a whole spiel, but we need your password to assist you further. And I think we had like a 70% hit rate, like it was a few years ago, of people giving us their passwords without any verification over the phone. So yeah, very effective. Tailgating, piggybacking is simply walking straight behind somebody. Think of turnstiles. That's why they've got those little spinny things to prevent that. That gains you access into buildings. That's why many security buildings, there are security guards there to try and prevent tailgating. I'm pretty sure in The Hague, if you try to jump those turnstiles at the train stations, they will come after you. Quid pro quo, one of the most common examples is the Microsoft scam, where they will phone up people saying like, we found, similar to our pretext, an issue with your account. We're going to try and help you, but you need to pay $50 for this service. Then a water holing attack is when they compromise a very common site. Think CNN. Thousands of people go there. So they compromise that site and either host a malicious login page or malware, and then they waterhole thousands of people. Then we've got farming. This is essentially when they have the ability to change the DNS, the domain name service of machines. So what happens is when you type in facebook.com, in the back end, they change the IP address to their malicious IP address. And when you type in facebook.com, it goes and looks up the malicious IP address. You still get a page that looks like facebook.com, but essentially it's a malicious site, and there's no way for you of knowing.
Cobus, you've got 5 minutes.
Sure, no problem. I will get through it. Impersonation is just where they pretend you impersonate your colleagues. One of them is business email compromise. That's why it's always important to keep your email safe, even though you've got no information that the attackers want. But if your email account emails your friends or family, all of a sudden it does have value. Dumpster diving, literally going to the dustbins, finding sensitive information. Physical social engineering is where the people jump turnstiles, jimmy open doors, baiting. If you ever see a USB lying around, just leave it, because there's a very good chance that that USB is infected. People didn't just leave it lying around. Or if you see this free game on some torrent site, you're likely going to get more than just the free game. Pretexting is very close to impersonation, but think of it as the lawyer phoning you up saying that you've got a long lost relative and they need information from you. Then next, we've got bug bounty. So bug bounty is essentially a crowdsourcing way of getting people to hack your system, but then tell you about it. So companies that have got bug bounty programs are like Google, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, and thousands more. So they've got these active programs where you can essentially try and hack them as long as you report to them. And if you report to them and they deem it as a valid security concern, they will pay you money for it. For example, Google paid $10 million in 2023. If you want to get into bug bounty program, highly recommend going through either HackerOne, Integrity, or Bugcrowd, because they will facilitate you and those companies. Because don't think all companies have got bug bounty programs. So if you hack or try to hack certain companies, it's legal. So rather go through these companies. And you can see that HackerOne paid out $300 million in bug bounties. Bugcrowd paid out $500,000 in a week. So very lucrative, but yeah, it's a lot of work. Exploit development is one of the next things. So it's all well and good that we know there are vulnerabilities, but somebody needs to develop the exploits for them. So this is often very skilled and where you start needing programming knowledge, in-depth programming knowledge. You've got common ones like buffer overflows, where you will write more data into the buffer of the application. It will write over that buffer, and in certain instances can either corrupt the memory or it will allow malicious code to execute. Next, you've got remote code execution, which essentially it's in the name. So that will give you access to run operating system commands on the remote machine. So if I hack into a website and I've got remote code execution, sitting at home, I can essentially run commands as if I am on that machine. And then zero-day exploits is what Shahrain also talked about. These are essentially exploits that only, in this case, Clop ransomware knows about. They've not disclosed this. No vendor knows about this. So there's essentially been 0 days to try to remediate this. Then malware development is next. Once again, this is very important because, for example, Shahrain and the team in the video, they used CrowdStrike, but other endpoint security programs that try and antivirus to try and protect your machine. Malware developers always try to find ways around it. Because if you can bypass the endpoint, you've got a lot of access into the organization. So they normally employ obfuscation, encryption, polymorphism, a whole bunch of other techniques to try and bypass these systems. It is very important, and it's a very difficult field to get into in offensive security, but there are very good courses like Sector 7's malware development and the malware development for ethical hackers. Okay, now getting started into cybersecurity, we mentioned this earlier, but there are a couple of places where you can do training. Some of it's free. You can do some certifications. Altered Security is very good at red team focused training. The good thing about all of this training is it is hands-on. There aren't multiple choice questions. There aren't theory. There's no write-ups. if you do these courses, you will need to hack into the systems, which is a way better way of learning because it tests your skills. So you've got altered security, black tools, information security, or anti-siphon training. TCM Academy, OffSec is a very good one. Try Hack.me and Hack the Box are online platforms where they spin up the infrastructure for you. So they give you the vulnerable website. You've got your attacking machine. They've got red team and blue team things. So both have got free content as well. So highly recommend those. Vulnub, if you want vulnerable machines or systems, you can download them and try and hack them yourselves. And then obviously YouTube. Then if you also want to get involved, I can highly recommend the Hack South cyber community, B-Sides Cape Town, B-Sides Joburg. I'm not sure if that one's happening or when it is. Hexcon Gauteng, Coffee Cape Town. These are Coffee Cape Town and Coffee Joburg are monthly meetups where cyber professionals meet up and discuss different topics. Highly recommend these. If you want any more information, you can reach me on LinkedIn. And then lastly, but arguably the most important, unauthorized hacking is illegal. If you don't have signed consent, please do not do it. And that's it. Sorry if I rushed.
Cobus and Shahrain, that was an excellent lecture. The students are in the Q&A. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions today because we have to sign off. But if you have a look at the Q&A, you will see that the students have a lot of questions. So I don't know if you don't mind, if you could take the time to perhaps just answer a few of those. I want to thank you for your lecture. Unfortunately, I need to hand over to Michelle quite quickly because he's in quite a hurry. So Michelle, I'm going to give you the floor, but I want to thank Team Willies. If we can quickly give them a big round of applause, students, for an excellent offensive, defensive teaming exercise. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks so much.
Well, thank you all for giving me the honor actually to wrap up the first part of this school. And it goes without saying, of course, that this school asked a lot of everybody, actually. But so let me then first thank you so much, our team, both here in the Netherlands as well as in South Africa. They did an excellent job. You probably are not aware so much, but behind the scenes, there's a lot going on to make this all go smooth. But I think so far as I can count on and have experienced, it went quite okay. I didn't get the impression that students were complaining, and if so, then it probably was more on bandwidth than on something else. The same I would like to say to the also thank you to the sponsor, main sponsor, for making this this activity possible at all, and that's the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that for this year first time enabled HSS together with the rest of the team from South Africa to start up this school. And I foresee, given the success so far, that this will be prolonged. I know that they have it in mind for at least 3 years, so this is the first year. So hopefully next year and the year after we'll see an extra school. What surprised me very much, and I was really astonished by it, is the number of subscriptions. You should know that at the start we thought, well, first round 300, that would be nice, that would be a success, and we ended up with almost 1900. That was really astonishing. So that's really good. That is probably also a sign or a signal that this kind of course is in great need. So that's a good sign as well. But it also showed the numbers of participants that there's eagerness among the students to learn on top of their normal daily lecturing, etc., that they do and studying, that they would make an effort to do something extra, which is, I think, very important. If you look at how in many countries the students are progressing their careers, we see it with India. It's a never-ending race to be better than the rest, and I think making this step is for you a fantastic next step indeed. So what I hope is that you learned a lot. You'll not be the coding specialist or the hacker specialist or the law specialist, but I think that this course gives you a bit of an insight on what cybersecurity all entails, from accountability to hacking to the technical side. You have had lectures on post-quantum crypto, you never heard of that probably, and a couple of other things. So I think that's quite nice, and I hope that some of you might make the decision actually to progress their career in this direction. I know from other courses that people after following the course stepped into the field, and the last conference on the one conference in The Hague last year, I was tapped on the shoulder and a guy said to me, "Thank you so much for this course, because I'm now in the business and I started my career and I'm enjoying it much." So I hope actually that also is the case for many of you. I think I should also mention a lot of the sponsors. So thank you to all the sponsors. They are of course on the website. They make it possible in all kind of ways, and especially also for the next step for the challenge providers. Actually, the challenge providers were also lecturers, so you already were in touch with them. But the next phase, of course, that's as Noel said earlier this week, that's where rubber hits the road, and where you not only should apply some of your knowledge gained, but you probably need some extra knowledge, so you might just dive into that as well for yourself, to make the challenge indeed not difficult, but nice, and hopefully come up with a nice creative solution. And that you also learn a bit in that period of time to work in a diverse team of people with different backgrounds, using different jargon, and that it is not frustrating, but that it will enrich your experience working in these teams, because probably that in real life will be the case as well. So without further ado, I thank you all for all your efforts. And I'm looking forward to the next stage of this course, being at the challenges. So I wish you all the best. And for those that not follow the challenge part, good luck, and you will get your certificate if you followed enough lectures in due time. Thank you so much, all. And I think with this, we close off for today, or is there still a quiz?
There is still a quiz, or two actually, because I managed to fix the issue of the code not working previously. We tried to get the first one done after Luke's and then only have one now, but it's only fair to give you all a chance to do both of the lectures that we've had today. So as you all know, the drill, it's optional. For those of you that want to stay on, great. For those of you that don't, feel free to leave. And then if you're taking part in the challenges, as Michel said, we will be allocating the groups tomorrow at the end of the day, and then you will know who's in your group and you will know which challenge you've been allocated to, and you have until the 16th of April to submit your challenge. But yes, without further ado, I am aware of everyone's time. I'm aware that it's late. It's almost 6:30 p.m. So optional quiz time. Let's end thanks with what we normally do, which is a quiz, and end on a good note. So without further ado, I will take you through Luke's EU regulation lecture. Can I get a confirmation from one of my team that you guys can see my screen?
Yes, looks
We
good.
can.
Yeah, great. Okay, so join at menti.com using the code 61171181. This is the correct code. I've tested it. It should be working now. Great. I see people already logging on. Perfect. And I will try to get through it quickly. So we'll do like a bit of a speed Mentimeter today, or Mentimeters, after which Berend will take over for Shahrain and Cobus's lecture. Okay, I'm just going to give everyone another 30 seconds or so to log on. Again, it's menti.com using the code 61171181. It's good to see that there's still some interest after all of these mentees that we've done and after a long day of lectures, guys. Really appreciate all your support and interest. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start, and you guys can keep joining as I keep going along. So the first question is, oh, there we go. Oh boy. The first question is, what is the purpose of EU cybersecurity regulations? A, to restrict internet usage. B, to enhance digital trade. C, to ensure a high level of cybersecurity across member states. Or D, to promote software development. Do we remember what Luke talked about? And I'm going to reveal the answer. Yeah, correct. C, to ensure a high level of cybersecurity across member states. Let's move on to the second question. Number 2, what is a challenge of complying with EU cybersecurity regulations? A, simplifies cybersecurity management. B, varies significantly between industries. C, creates uniform standards across all member states. Or D, inconsistencies and complexities in implementation. There is some divide here. What do we think? Okay, quite some divide, guys. What do we think? Quite an equal divide. This is the first time I'm seeing this with all the mentees. Normally there's one that's really ahead of the rest, but I'm going to reveal it. It is D, inconsistencies and complexities in implementation. Third question. How do EU regulations affect companies outside of the EU? A, no effect. B, only affects EU-based companies. C, affects those dealing with EU citizens' data. Or D, reduces trade with non-EU countries. Okay, what do we think, guys? Cast your votes. All right, and the answer is C, correct. Affects those dealing with EU citizens' data. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. What is the principle of the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, or otherwise known as the GDPR? A, data minimization. B, unlimited data storage. C, sharing data freely. Or D, prioritizing data collection over privacy. Okay, we seem to think it's D. Some people seem to think it's A. Cast your votes, and the answer is A, data minimization. Oh, this is the first time that we haven't got, the majority hasn't gotten it right. I hope this question is correct then, but we can discuss this another time. Let's move on to number 5. How does GDPR impact individual privacy? A, reduces privacy. B, no impact. C, increases control over personal data. Or D, only affects companies. Make sure you vote for yourself and don't just pick what everyone else is going for. So cast your votes. The answer will soon be revealed. Okay, 3, 2, 1. C, nice guys, you redeemed yourselves. Increases control over personal data. Almost there. Number 6, what is required under EU cybersecurity regulations for breach notification? A, immediate notification is optional. B, notification within a specific time frame. C, no notification required. Or D, only notify affected individuals. What do we think? Okay, most of you seem to think it's B. Let's see if that's the correct answer. Correct. Notification within a specific time frame. All right, number 7, nearly there. How do e-regulations influence cybersecurity strategies? A, promote a more proactive and compliant approach. B, no influence. C, focus solely on technological solutions. Or D, encourage a reactive approach. You'll be very cynical if you say no influence. Okay, everyone seems to think it's A. Let's have a look. Indeed, it is A, promote a more proactive and compliant approach. Okay, final question for this lecture, and then we will move on to the other one. Number 8, what is a benefit of EU cybersecurity regulations for consumers? A, less choice in digital services. B, higher costs for services. C, enhanced trust and security in digital services. Or D, no benefits. This one seems unanimous. Oh, almost unanimous. Okay, let's reveal it. Last question of this lecture. Correct. C, enhanced trust and security in digital services. So thank you guys for sticking around. Now on to the final Sanks Mentimeter, where my colleague Berend will take over.
All right, Stephanie, thank you very much. Okay, everyone, just hang on tight for 5 more minutes. I'll share my screen. You would have to move over to a new Menti quiz and a new code. So I hope you can all see the screen now. It's visible, right? I think it is. Maybe Stephanie, you can confirm that my screen is visible now.
Yeah, I can see it. Thanks.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. Okay, everyone. The actual final Menti quiz of the Sanks 24. Behold, the code is at menti.com 63562772. It's at the top of the screen. So you can all join via that code, move over to the new Menti quiz, and we'll wrap it up. And I also saw that Shahrain and Cobus are both still in the call, so I really hope they do approve of our questions and answers. You never know. We have seen that, well, in one of the previous lectures, the lecturer at the end corrected us on one of the questions, but yeah. Then again, it's pretty late, so we'll have to see how fresh Shahrain and Cobus are as well. I see 15 people actually liking. That's really good. Let's give it a couple more minutes, couple more seconds, and then we start. I think we have almost everyone there. All right, offensive versus defensive cybersecurity. The first question. What is the focus of offensive cybersecurity? That's the fast answer right there. Is it A, developing defensive strategies? Is it B, responding to incidents after they occur? C, proactively identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities? Or D, increasing physical security measures? So what is the focus of offensive cybersecurity? Wow, I see the correct answer was already marked here. Really well done. Answer C, indeed, proactively identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities, offensive cybersecurity, of course, attacks. Question number 2. Oh man, this is interesting. How does defensive cybersecurity differ from offensive? A, it is more focused on physical security. B, it aims to protect systems and data from attacks. C, it's less important. I hope you don't answer this question after the lecture. Or D, it only involves using antivirus software. So how does defensive cybersecurity differ from offensive? Well, you've already seen the answer, I think, but let's give you a moment to think about it as well. There we go, answer B. All right, I hope the next question doesn't spoil the answer. It does as well. Question number 3, what is the benefit of offensive cybersecurity? Does it A, eliminate the need for defense? B, it identifies potential threats before they materialize? D, it reduces the cost of cybersecurity? Or D, it has no benefit? What is a benefit, and maybe the biggest benefit, of offensive cybersecurity? Well, That wasn't too hard either. Answer B. Well done. Okay, next question. 4. Why is a balance between offensive and defensive cybersecurity important? A. Offensive strategies are more effective. B. It ensures comprehensive protection and threat intelligence. C. Defensive strategies are sufficient. Or D. It reduces the need for skilled professionals. Unanimous again. Correct. Answer B. Let's see. Question number 5. What is a risk associated with offensive cybersecurity? A. It is less effective. B. It may lead to legal and ethical issues. C. It increases the cost of cybersecurity. Or D. It is too complex to implement. So what is a major risk associated, or the main risk from these options maybe, with offensive cybersecurity? Well, Cobus closed off with it, of course. Unauthorized hacking is illegal. So indeed, offensive cybersecurity, hacking in that sense, could lead to legal and ethical issues. Well done, guys. Okay, question number 6 already. How do advances in technology impact defensive cybersecurity? A. They prove no impact. B. They make defensive strategies obsolete. C. They create new challenges and solutions for protection. Or D. They simplify defensive strategies. So when technology impact advances, how does it affect defensive cybersecurity? Most of you seem to think answer C. There you go. Well done. Okay then. Question number 7. What role does intelligence play in offensive cybersecurity? A. It plays no role. B. It is only necessary for government agencies. C. It is critical for identifying targets and planning attacks. Or D. It only involves gathering public information. So what role does intelligence play in offensive cybersecurity? Unanimous once more. Answer C. Correct. Well done. And the final question of Thanks 24 and of this lecture is: how is ethical hacking related to offensive cybersecurity? Is it A, not related at all? B, a form of defensive strategy? C, ethical hacking is used to identify and address vulnerabilities? Or D, it is considered illegal and unethical? Well, it's kind of in the name that option D might not be right, but you never know. Answer C, let's see if it's correct. Yes, ethical hacking is of course used to identify and address vulnerabilities. It's very important in that sense and a big part of cybersecurity. Thanks a lot, everyone, for participating. This was the final Mentimeter quiz of the Thanks 24, and also the final lecture of Thanks 24. Michel has, of course, issued his words of thanks, and also to the participants. Mostly, we want to say thank you for sticking around and following all these lectures. And hopefully having learned a lot. We're going to see a lot of you in the challenge phase, which will commence pretty soon. So await your team allocation tomorrow, end of the day. And on Monday, we have the mentor session, of course, where you can ask questions to the challenge providing companies, people you've already seen at the lectures before. And to all of you who will not be participating in the challenges, once more, thanks a lot for joining, and look out for your certificates soon if you have met your requirements, of course. We'll work on those ASAP. Thanks a lot. Have a great night, everyone. And thanks for sticking around.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciated all the input and all the excitement and everything over these past 3 weeks. Can't say it better than Berend has said it already, but yeah, really appreciate all of the interactions, whether it was just little digital hearts or digital waves or claps and everything. It made us feel like we weren't alone behind a screen. So thanks a lot, and good luck with the rest of your future endeavors. And yeah, good luck, guys. See you later.
Yes, good luck. Good luck.
Alrighty, bye-bye.